Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about the John Harbaugh decision with the Ravens to go for it on fourth down instead of kicking the field goal. Obviously, a lot of media is trying to decide, was it the correct call? Was it analytically correct? Was it the aggressive choice, or was it dumb? So we're going to go ahead and listen to what First Things First has to say about this. Let me just go ahead and put my thing out there real quick before we listen to what these young whippersnappers have to say. I think it was the right call. I don't even really think it's close. I mean, in that situation, and obviously they'll give us the details of it, but you're not going to win games against the Bills by kicking field goals. All right. So, I mean, they proved it. I mean, the Bills went down immediately and had a chance to score. Like, kicking a field goal there doesn't get you anything. I am all for the decision there to try and get in the end zone, try and force the issue with Buffalo, and try and put a stranglehold in the game, especially when you have someone like Lamar Jackson. Now, as we will see in this video, I had much more of a problem with the actual play. I had a problem with the play dropped Lamar back. The play had him playing like Peyton Manning. He had a 5-step drop. I think if you're going to do a play like that, give Lamar every chance to succeed. Do run pass options, move him around, let him. I would say that the receiver was open in the corner of the end zone. I think he was wide open, but I think it took Lamar to get out of the pocket before he could see it, and at that time it was too late. The interception was inexcusable. I didn't hate the play call. I didn't hate going for it. What say you, four fellas?
Sure. Are you blaming Harbaugh for this loss?
Okay, as much as I'm a young soul, I'm admittedly old school. And yes, I am blaming Harbaugh for this loss. Now look, in a 60-minute game, there are all types of things happen, right? You can talk about the defense. You can talk about Lamar not being up to par.
I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, I guess, like, because if you kick the field goal, right, then you say we have a better chance. This is how I look at it. If you kick the field goal, you say, I believe we have a better chance of holding the Bills to 0 points than we have of scoring on this play. I believe we have a better chance of stopping Josh Allen than we do of picking up 4 yards and getting in the end zone. And I just don't see that. I mean, because, and Harbaugh even kind of said this in his explanation, which I think was wrong, but he said he wanted to take out the fourth down. He wanted to go for it so that the fourth down wasn't in play. But to me, that makes the fourth down was always in play, because there was a couple minutes left during the fourth quarter. Like, the Bills aren't punting you the ball, right? They're never punting the ball back to you. So fourth down is always in play, whether they're down a field goal or whether they're down a touchdown. So with that in mind, I think it's fine to go for it. I do think it's dumb when coaches say, analytically, it's why we did it, or analytically we did this. I think it's okay to just say we were being aggressive. Josh Allen's a hell of a player. The Bills' offense is insane. I didn't think that we were going to win with 3 points. I didn't think that 3 points was going to be good enough, so I wanted to get a shot at getting in the end zone and giving us a huge security blanket. And really, when you think about it, going for it is almost the same as kicking a field goal, right? Because in both situations, you're thinking, if you go for it and don't get it, you're thinking, well, shit, they're backed up on the 3, so they have 97 yards to go. I believe in my defense. If you kick a field goal, you say, I believe in my defense that we can hold them to no points. Now, it was intercepted, so they got the ball, at the 20, so that throws a wrench into it. But again, the thinking is good. The aggressive nature is good. You don't have to go back and say, like, analytics. No one say anything bad. It's okay to just say what it is. You were being aggressive, and that Josh Allen's a bad muzza.
So there are other things you can blame, but this comes down to John Harbaugh, because this is the definition of insanity. Doing something over and over again in which you keep failing at it. It doesn't work. And Harbaugh keeps doing this. Nick, last year, we saw it against Pittsburgh, right? They scored with 12 seconds left to pull within a point. And instead of kicking the extra point, sending it into overtime, they go for 2, fail, and lose. We saw it also last year against Green Bay. Same thing. Less than a minute left. They pull within a point, go for 2, lose, and don't even get to overtime.
I don't get it, man. I don't get, just because something doesn't work out doesn't mean it's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, just because, like, if you're on the road, if you're down, if you have the choice in kicking an extra point and going to overtime or winning the game there, I think winning the game there is most of the time the better call, unless you're at home, unless you're clearly the better team, stuff like that. But if it's a coin toss, if you have a 50-50 shot to win the game, like in overtime, wouldn't you rather just try and get 3 yards? Like, I don't understand what Chris is saying.
Against Kansas City, and they beat the Chiefs because of it.
Okay, but I just gave you 2 where they lost, and I'm gonna give you another one this year against Miami. They go for 4. They're up 14. They go for 4th and 1 right near midfield. They fail. Short field for the Dolphins. They come down, score. We all know the rest of that. And
again, like, this is using results as kind of like a determining factor on if something's correct or not. 4th and 1 in the NFL is like 63% chance of converting it. Okay, taking it, like, doing something that you have a 63% chance of succeeding, doing it and failing doesn't mean you're wrong. Like, yes, there's always going to be that chance that you do not succeed, but you can't. Like, I just don't understand how Broussard is going about this.
I think that is why Marcus Peters was so upset, because I think he was like, we keep doing this. This is a game of inches. That's a cliche, but it's true. And these little things matter. And I think, look, last year, those 2 games, maybe it cost them a playoff spot. This year, it may have cost them that game yesterday.
So that's all fair, but the key part that Harbaugh talked about there is the reason forget analytics, just logic. Wilds' old point of, what does your opponent hope you do the opposite. If you're rooting for the Bills, which I know you're not,
that actually, I mean, that is a really good way of looking at it a lot of the times. Like, and it works as a better too, because if I'm betting on the Bills there, if I'm just Bills money line, if I'm rooting for, or even rooting for the Bills, whatever, I hope they kick the field goal. I'm hoping they kick the field goal, because they can miss the field goal, we can block the field goal, they can make it, and all we have to do is get a field goal. If they score a touchdown there, it's so much more that the Bills have to do. So I know, as a Bills fan or Bills backer, or however you want to say it, I am praying that they just decide to kick the field goal. I don't want to see Lamar Jackson in a 4th and 3 situation to score a touchdown. He's way too dangerous. Now, if you told me that on 4th down they were going to drop Lamar Jackson back like he was Rich Gannon, okay, whatever. That's a different story.
You want them to kick that field goal and give you the ball back with 4 minutes left, Josh Allen, your timeouts, and ability and kickoff? Or if you're rooting for the Bills, do you want them to go for the touchdown? You know the Bills were like, please kick the field goal. Please kick the field goal. But the key to the play was Lamar's mistake.
Yes.
Because the whole logic tree of, if we don't get it, they are backed up to the 2.
I just said all this. I just said this 40 seconds ago.
The fly in the ointment there is, you can't throw a pick in the end zone to where they have it on the 20. That was the disaster of it. And listen,
the first disaster was the play call, right? The second disaster was his decision. You RPO or move Lamar around, let him do what he's best at, and go from there. You don't make him drop back and try and read the defense. That's why he threw the pick, is that he was late to see the open receiver, because he had to get himself out of the pocket. Start him getting out of the pocket, and that play's probably a touchdown.
I like Lamar. I think he deserves a ton of money. I also think that Lamar is in a very weird space in comes to media coverage, which is, there is no gray on the coverage of Lamar Jackson. It's either he's the league MVP, which through 3 weeks he might have been, he deserves a fully guaranteed contract, or the people who have disliked him and said he can't win for years, and they won't budge on it even though all the evidence is against it. The gray on it is this. Lamar Jackson cost them that football game with his play, not just on that last drive, the entire second half. They had a 17-point lead in that football game.
Yeah, I mean, look, he ain't wrong. You know what I mean? Like, and it's hard to plant it on one person, But yeah, it was, you had a big lead at half and you blew the game. So it's hard to be like, oh, yep, Harbaugh's decision, that did it. It was the entire second half. If we're going to have like this big, macro discussion of like what cost them the entire game, then yeah, it wasn't just that one play. It was the fact that they couldn't get a point in the second half.
And Lamar in the second half had 36 yards passing. They had a 3-and-out, a 5-and-out, a pick, and then a pick in the end zone. Where if he throws the ball away, they're fine. Buffalo's backed up on their own 2-yard line, and I don't think they have the ability to drive down the field, certainly not with the ease with which they did. So I would have certainly done that if I'm John Harbaugh. I have Lamar Jackson. It's goal line. I can go up a score. But what you can't take there is a brutal sack, which Lamar also almost took, or throw a pick in the end zone. That was the deciding factor. So as much as I like Lamar's stink, I put it on him.
Okay.
As much as I'm not a fan of Nick's hair, I got to agree with him right there. He's basically said everything I said. Well said, I suppose. Well said.
Let's talk about all the things that are stupid. Okay? Let's take all the things, write this down. All the things that are stupid. Okay, number one, analytics. That's dumb. Analytics are stupid, right? I mean, it's made by a bunch of guys that are math nerds who have never actually played before. It's the dumbest.
That is a hellacious take. I think analytics has become this buzzword. It's become like this cursed word where, especially the old heads, like Mark just laid out there, they think it's some crazy, insane algorithm made up by math nerds, to quote him, who have never played the game. Analytics is just a funny word of saying like odds. It's just the percentages and the odds. That's all it is. It's instead of using your gut, or instead of using things like that old coaches relied on, or just kind of a feeling or whatever, it gives you an inside look into the decision that you are making. Even if you take it at the base level and you just take the percentages of the NFL average to convert the situation you are in. 4th and 1. We'll call it 62% chance of success. If you know you have a 62% chance of success, then just knowing that on average, just knowing that is like, well, shit, if I've got a 60-something% chance to make this, then shit, I'll take it. Same with 2-point conversions. Like 2-point conversions, people think are you gotta have a feeling. You lick your finger, stick it in the air, and see which way the wind's blowing. But if you take the NFL average, like, okay, it's 50-50 shot to make this 2-point conversion, then it makes things like being down 14 and going for it, that first 2-point conversion, it makes it make more sense. Because if you're thinking, well, I have to do this twice and get one of them, and you know that the average is you will get one of every two, then it's easy to be like, well, damn, if I'm supposed to get one out of every two, and if I get the first one, then I can kick a field goal or kick an extra point on the second one, then I'll win. Like, knowing that is just knowing the numbers is very beneficial. You don't have to have a protractor and a compass and a graduate degree from Yale. The term analytics has been demonized by these old heads who just treat it as something it's not.
This thing that drives me nuts. So I'm going to let somebody. So here's one of the coach told me this. The analytics department comes down and says to us, "Hey, listen, man, we're averaging a yard per carry more when we run to the left than we do to the right. So this week we should run to the left 72% of the time versus, and then here's what happened. The coach goes, "Hey, Aaron Donald lands up on that side. Aaron Donald lines up on that side. Get the hell out of here," right?
Yeah, but that's not how it is. That's just that would all be factored in. That would all be factored in. What it would tell you is something like, hey, coach, so when on first downs, when we run the football, on average over the course of a year, we average 3.2 yards a carry, or yards a play. If we throw the football on first down, then we average 7 yards per play. Then if you saw those two numbers, you'd think, well, maybe we should sprinkle in more passing plays on first down. That's more of what analytics is, or more of the numbers than whatever he's talking about.
Like, what do you know? Stop it.
But that's not the. Hold on, Stink.
Thank you.
I have several things.
You've got several. But
this
to be
is
fair,
music to my ears.
the idea that the analytics department does not incorporate The opposition, your own team, where people are, is a straw man. They don't just say run to the left because we're successful there, independent of who's on the left side or Aaron Donald.
Well, I just told you a story where they came down to a coaching staff and said, hey, we average X number of yards more per carry to the left.
Know what they're doing. That's
all right,
fine.
all right. Okay, that's one stupid thing. Okay, so that's one stupid thing. To your point on Lamar, I know one guy that was given effort driving on that football. I think it was Poyer who intercepted it. Well, am I correct on that?
Yeah.
Where Duvernay was waiting for it to come back, run back down your freaking stem, go get the ball, attack the ball in the air.
Or at least dislodge it.
So, right. So that was one. And then the last thing that I'll tell you is stupid is, what are you known for as a football team? Are you known for your superior passing game, or are you known because you run the heck out of the ball and you operate that way? Let's line up.
Yeah, I mean, like, I agree with this running part where it's kind of what I was saying. Like, the play of dropping Lamar back to be just a straight up passing quarterback, you took away what he did, what he does best. I don't know why coaches do that. Well, you know, I've said it 20 times in this video, but I don't understand why it wasn't just a straight up RPO, move him around, even if it was a designed run. I mean, even if it was like hey, just do a read option, Lamar, we're going to trust that you can kind of make something happen. It's 3 or 4 yards. You know, like, that makes more sense to me than like, all right, Lamar, you're going to drop back like Dan Marino and try and figure out the space in the red zone. I agree with that.
An empty gun.
That I totally agree with.
Okay, let's line up an empty gun and let's have no threat. So on the goal line, one of the things you have to understand about goal line football, okay, is that on the goal line, when you line up in a run formation, you make the defense
what a zoom in.
2 things.
This camera's out of control.
Good on goal line. You know what you have to do? When you flag a play action out there and you show, hey, we're going to run this ball, you have to sell out. You cannot afford, because you're guessing on the goal line. Defenders guess on the goal line. That's and listen, when they guess wrong, those are wide open touchdowns. They're like, how do you go? Oh, well, how did that tight end get so open? Why? Because they
you
guess.
have to make a choice.
You have to make a choice, right?
That I totally agree with.
So all of a sudden you've got Dobbins. You've got a great running game. You've got
Ricard. I mean, we definitely agree on the play call.
Quarterback that can run, and you say, hey, guess what, guys? You don't have to guess. You can play us from deep to low, right? We're not going to, hey, well, maybe our quarterback takes off, but you can still take away the pass first before you go do that. That to me is the dumbest decision. And then the best chance to win, like kick a field goal, right? You're saying, hey, man, like, I have trust in my defense, and I'm going to put it on my defense. I'm going to trust them. The best chance to win is go out there and get the lead late in the football game. That's the best chance to win.
Simple.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand what he's saying, that you want to have a lead if given the chance, but I mean, I think I've laid this out pretty extensively, but Harbaugh did not believe that his defense would be able to stop Josh Allen. I think that is check mark for sure. So he was thinking, well, I would rather try and score and force them to score a touchdown. Whereas if we don't score, 98 yards is a whole lot harder for the Bills to drive than me kicking a field goal and watching Josh Allen march down the field to either tie me, because he sure as hell didn't want to go to overtime. He sure as hell didn't want to kick a field goal, allow Josh Allen to go to overtime, and any of that. And honestly, maybe he did think that he was taking the 4th down out, because with there being 4 minutes left. But I just feel like I know the Bills, and I don't think the Bills were punting at all. I think 4th down was in play from the jump.
I love it. I don't have anything to add to that.
Well,
that's
no.
a mic drop. I mean, that was
listen.
Kick the field goal.
The play call can be debated. All of that.
I also hate whenever the analytic discussion, whenever the opposition is, analytics are stupid, they're a bunch of nerds. Like that's how is that the argument that Chris Broussard's like, yeah, man, preaching to the choir, mic drops. Like he said they're nerds. It's just so dumb.
That can be debated, and I think Stink makes some very fair points. But what perplexes me on people arguing they should have kicked the field goal is I have been told all year long the Bills are this amazing team in large part because of this amazing quarterback and this amazing offense. If that is the case, and you are your choice is, if I kick this field goal, it's going to be 4 minutes for them. We're going to kick off, so they're going to have the ball probably at the 25. And to Harbaugh's point, they're going to be in 4-down territory the entire time. I don't blame him for saying, well, considering the fact that our defense let Joe Flacco and Mac Jones throw for nearly 800 yards combined and turn Tua into...
Yeah, I mean, he did it. They did it, right? The Bills, the following possession, drove down and sat down at the 1-yard line and declined scoring a touchdown so they could kick the game-winning field goal. Obviously, it would, I understand that every single possession isn't the same. I understand the butterfly effect, but they turned around and marched down the field and could have done whatever they wanted. I think Harbaugh got his validation right there. Like, yeah, shit, look at my defense right there. Like, look what happened with 2020. If they kick a field goal, we are led to just assume that the Bills would have marched down there and punched it in from the 1 instead of declining and kicking field goal. Like, I don't think, to me this is similar to like having a 10 in blackjack and doubling down and getting a 30. Sometimes that shit happens, but it's absolutely the right thing to be aggressive in that spot. You have the best chance of making money at the table when you do aggressive things, when you have a slight edge. When you have a slight edge to get the better result, it's okay to be aggressive. Just like in Harbaugh's situation, it's okay. And again, I don't want to agree with Nick too much here, but I think they're arguing the wrong point. It's not should he have gone for it. I think he for sure should have gone for it. The sticking point should be not about analytics. It should be about the play call. It should 100% be like, okay, you decided to go for it here. Why did you decide to make Lamar Jackson John Elway? Why did you decide to make him drop back 5 yards? It shouldn't be the decision. It should be what came after the decision.
Doing all pro, our defense did. I think Josh Allen might be able to get 45 yards.
They have been doing a good job on Allen, though.
In that game, yes.
Let me ask you this.
10 points in the second half.
The 4-down territory, so you're telling me that if they're in 4th and 3 from if you got it on 25, right? Mm-hmm. So you're 4th and 3 from whatever that math is. Nobody told me they would be.
So he's saying a 3 and out. What Nick is saying is like, look, the chances of them getting a 3 and out are way worse than the chances of the Ravens getting 3 yards and getting a touchdown. Like, obviously they would punt if they got the ball with 3 minutes and 50 seconds left and it was 3 and out and it was 4th down, 4th and 3. They would punt, like, in that situation. But what John Harbaugh and Nick are saying is like, we're not expecting to do that. We're not expecting to put them in a 3 and out. The chances of that are incredibly slim.
Sure.
Math, okay? Yeah. They didn't tell me on this show there would be math. If you're 4th and 3 from the 32, you're saying that you're punting that?
No.
I mean, if you're in 4
down, they are punting.
Regardless where you get that ball, regardless of what the freaking score is, you're still in 4-down territory.
You're not in 4-down territory if you go for it. His point is, if we score, they're in 4-down territory. Our worst case scenario, if you don't throw a pick in the end zone, is we go for it and fail. Now it's a tie game now.
Sure.
Now they're going to be uber conservative. They have the ball at their own 2-yard line in a tie game. They're going to be uber conservative, and we might end up getting the ball back. That was his point, that if we score, either way, if we score, they're going to be in 4-down territory. The question is, are we up 3 or 7? But if we don't score, they are going to be super conservative.
That's another thing too. Like that's another point is that let's say they're on the 2, right? Like, being in the shadow of your own end zone is not easy. So let's say they're on the 2, and let's say they get a first down, but they end up they go 15, 20 yards or whatever, but then they have to punt. Then, because they're not going to go for it in their own 20, their own 25 yard line, not on a tied game. So then the thinking is, well, shit, if we get the ball with a minute left, a minute 30, whatever, and they punt it to us and hope their defense can hold, then all we need is a field goal. I mean, I just think it makes sense from every single angle, not even bringing up analytics.
They're backed up on their own, too.
I did not know there was this much thinking in football. I just kick a field goal and take a lead. I mean, maybe that's the problem.
That is the problem. Like, that is the problem. The problem is it's like, oh man, just kick the field goal. Who gives a shit? And there's just so much more that goes into it now. And I mean, look, I think Mark Schlereth is kind of playing into this right here as being like the football guy on the table. And so he's kind of leaning into the, you know, the dumb older football guy. But that is like the biggest issue, you know, like that's where we see Mike McCarthy and coaches make these mistakes where they take it as this like simple approach when there's so much more to the game now. There's so much more data. There's so much more information. There's so much more to these decisions. If you just rely on the old school, like, well, yep, just kick the field goal, take the lead. We'll just, you know, stop them here. They'll run the old power I formation. We'll just, you know, bunker down, pull your bootstraps up. Like if that's your, anybody can do that. Like, that's not a coach anymore. You know, that's not the guy anymore. That's what we see with Dan Campbell, you know, where Dan Campbell kind of leans into that sometimes. And then that's where he has press conferences where he's like, yeah, shit, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Because I don't know, man. It's just like, there's so much information. Why not just use it? How is it cool? How is it macho? How is it old school NFL to just like blatantly be blind to the information and just go with your gut or go with your feeling? It doesn't make any sense.
We're thinking too much. This is a game that is coached and played by phys ed majors. Let's quit the thinking and let's just start winning games. How about that?
Thanks.
I mean, that's the NFL, and I mean, what are you going to say there? Harbaugh, I believe in you, brother. I know what you were doing. I don't think it was dumb. I think the play call was dumb, but not that. Okay, not the decision. I got you. Analytic boys, stand up.